This video is all about how you can use onion tops from onions that you topped in your garden to make 3 different things to preserve for the winter. Today we're going to be making an onion top pesto, an onion top hummus, and I'm going to be freezing some of these to use all winter long. If you want to see just how we do this, stick around. So we already went through and we topped all of our onions and we cut off the tops and we ended up with a bunch of onion tops that we are going to be using. One of the reasons that we do like to go ahead and top our onions is because, well, it's a lot of extra produce that we can use, the onion tops that is, and topping the onions helps the onion bulbs grow bigger because each layer of onion is one of these shoots. So when we top it, we encourage future growth and bigger bulbs. So that's one of the reasons that we top our onions, and these are some really good ways to use all of those onion tops so you don't just let them go to waste and leave them out in the garden to turn into compost. When we go through and top our onions, we leave about 5 to 8 inches or so of onion tops on here so that the onion can continue to grow. You know, I really hate wasting things, which is part of the reason that we decided to grow such a big garden and to make sure we use all of it. And this is a really good way to make sure you use these onion tops that are normally just kind of a waste product. Well, our onions are all topped. They look pretty good. And look at all these onion tops that now we get to go do something with. We have 7 of these buckets filled up. Let's get them in the kitchen. All right, we are back inside, and the first thing I'm going to do is just rough chop a bunch of these onion tops and put them in some sort of a big container so that we can just get a bunch of them chopped up. I have my helper over here helping out a little bit. We are going to have onions all over this kitchen. We are accumulating a ton of onion tops. It's going to be a while until I get all these cut up. After all of that, we ended up with 2 big pots. Holy moly, this is a lot of onion tops. Glad we're going to use them. We're going to be starting out with our onion top pesto, and this recipe calls for some Parmesan cheese. So for the Parmesan cheese, I did make sure to buy something that is a little bit more pricey, not necessarily something in a bag, but more so like a block of Parmesan cheese. And I'm just going to go ahead and get this grated up ahead of time. And we're just going to use our food processor for all of this to make it really quick and easy and to get the job done. So I'm just going to get these chopped and throw them in the food processor. We made this recipe last year and I really like it. I am doing a little bit of something different this year, which you'll see in a minute. Okay, our Parmesan is all grated. I'm just going to put it in this bowl to hold it until we need it a little bit later. So this recipe is my variation of what I like to do for this recipe. You get to decide what you want to do in your kitchen, and this is just a little bit of an idea. So for this recipe, we need our onion tops. I have shredded Parmesan cheese. I have the zest of about 4 lemons, some salt and pepper, and then toasted sunflower seeds. These just came out of the oven and I did toast them. I made sure to put it on pretty low and watch them so they didn't burn and just so they could release some oils and get a little bit toasty. And the last thing this recipe calls for is a little bit of garlic. I'm just going to use pre-minced garlic, but you could use fresh garlic. Okay, so to do this, what we need are 6 cups of onion tops. So let's get those in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, to about 1 cup, and I'm not going to use a full cup. I'm going to use like 3/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. And then we need 1 teaspoon of lemon zest, right in there. 1.5 teaspoons of salt, so there's 1, just going to kind of guess on a half, and 1.5 teaspoons of pepper. 1.5. Okay, and then for garlic, it calls for 2 cloves of garlic, but I don't really want to peel garlic, so I'm just going to guesstimate and use some pre-minced garlic. And the last thing we need that I didn't mention is olive oil. What we're going to do is we're going to put the lid on this, and as it is processing, I'm going to drizzle olive oil into it so it can kind of start to make a paste. And it's about 3/4 cup, but I'm just going to kind of guesstimate on how much. So let's get it processed up. Okay, time to scrape the sides down. And I want to process it a little bit more. Okay, and that is what it is looking like in there. And I'm going to taste this and see what it's tasting like. Really good. Wow, I taste all those flavors. I like those sunflower seeds in there. Last year I did walnuts in this. You're supposed to do pine nuts, but those are pretty expensive. Last year I did walnuts, and those were good. But I do like the sunflower seed taste. When I use this, a way I like to do it is I like to saute this after it comes out of the freezer, because I'm going to freeze all these in mason jars. When I take them out, I like to saute them a little bit. One good way to use this is just to put it over noodles, like a pasta sauce. Or you can use it as like a layer in lasagna. That's another way I like to use it. But I do like to kind of cook it when I use it. What we're going to do now is we're going to put it all in another big pot, this pot over here, and I'm going to kind of homogenize it in there and just do a bunch of batches of exactly what I just did. When we get to the end, I'll mix it and season accordingly if it needs to have a little bit of a change with salt or pepper or anything. And I might also run out of certain ingredients, like I might run out of Parmesan, and just being able to homogenize it is a good idea at the end. So let's just work through a bunch of batches. So we ended up running out of Parmesan, so we are all done with our onion top pesto, and look at how much we have in there. That's a ton of onion top pesto. Look at how much onion tops we used. That's all that's left in this container. We do have the other pot too that we're still going to be working with today. I'm just going to jar these up. And this is a freezer recipe, so keep that in mind if you do this. This is not a canning recipe. This will not be shelf stable. We are just going to be freezing this to use it as we see fit. And you could, of course, do a lot more. We just kind of ran out. And I already did kind of mix this up a little bit, because you might have noticed in the time lapse that there were times when I maybe forgot the olive oil or other things like that. You know, sometimes things get away from you. Okay, so that one is all done. I'm just going to throw a lid and a ring, and this is a great opportunity to reuse your old lids because they don't need to be sterilized and brand new to make a good seal, because they're just going in the freezer. Let me get that on there. And there's our onion top pesto. We're going to pop this in the freezer. Let's see how many more we get. Part of the reason I like using mason jars for this is because they do freeze just fine, and we have so many mason jars around, and I have so many lids around that are old lids, and this is a really good, just like conservative way to make sure you don't waste and you can reuse stuff as much as possible. Every season during canning season, I never really seem to use all of the mason jars I've accumulated anyway, so this is just another way to use those mason jars, especially if you do have some freezer room. And I know sometimes freezer room can be tight, so I try not to freeze too much stuff, but this is just a recipe that I really do like, so that we don't waste all of those onion tops. I try not to overfill these. I try to go just about how I would if I was actually canning, so leaving about an inch of headspace. All right, and there you have it. I just made 9 jars of freezer onion top pesto. Let's get on to making some onion top hummus next. All right, so before we go outside to harvest any onion tops, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get our chickpeas all in the Instapot, because I opted to buy dried chickpeas. I just did that because it'll be a little bit cheaper. You could definitely just use canned chickpeas. So what we need to do is we're going to get them in their Instapot because it's the quickest way to get them going. If you're going to do it this way, you obviously want to make sure you know how to properly use your Instapot or pressure cooker. So we need 2 cups of chickpeas to 6 cups of water, and I'm just going to put as much as I can fit in here. So 1, 2, here's 2 cups of water, 4 cups of water, and 6 cups of water. Now I'm going to repeat that a bunch of times, and then we will turn this on. So we are to our max fill line right there, so I'm going to stop. We got 3 batches in here of chickpeas. I'm going to add a little bit of salt, about a ½ teaspoon per batch. So 1, 2, 3. We're going to put the lid on this and we're going to put it on high and we're going to pressure cook it for 15 minutes and then allow for a 15-minute natural release for our pressure cooker before we open it up and see what our chickpeas did in the Instapot. All right, you're going to release the pressure. It's been a little longer than 15 minutes, so the pressure is being released. We're going to see what our chickpeas look like in just a minute. Our Instapot's ready to open and the pressure is fully released. Let's see what these chickpeas look like. Ooh, those look pretty good. All right, they're definitely ready. This recipe calls for chickpeas, or also known as garbanzo beans. It does call for parsley, which we had some out in the garden, so I just went and picked some. We need a leafy green of choice, and I am going to use Swiss chard because we had some out in the garden. You could use kale or spinach, would be really good. Of course, we're going to be using our onion tops. I did refill this bucket, and this is what we have left of our onion tops for the day. We're going to need more olive oil. We're going to need some cumin and some salt and pepper. Okay, let's go ahead and get these leafy greens chopped up a little bit and that parsley chopped up a little bit. So this recipe is new to me. I've never made it before, so we'll see how it ends up coming out. I'm pretty excited about it. We really, really like hummus, so hopefully it's a good addition. I'm just going to strip these Swiss chard leaves. Swiss chard is interesting to me. I never ate it growing up, and now that we grew it in the garden, I really like it. You can eat the whole stalk, which in fact I like to eat. So all of these stalks that I just cut off, we'll probably just eat these. I either saute them or just eat them like celery kind of, which that's kind of what they taste like, is like celery. Okay, just going to kind of shred this off. You could of course just cut this off, but I find this to be just as fast, and this is all going to get processed in our food processor anyway, so it doesn't really matter how messy we're being right now. I did pre-rinse this a little bit, and it's been raining outside, so I think they're good to go. And these scrap pieces, we could saute them, but they're probably just going to go back out to the chickens who really do like them. So we're going to do this in a similar way where we make batches of our hummus. And each batch calls for 1 cup of leafy greens. So I think this ought to be enough. You know, I really like to find a way to use everything that we grow here. And that's kind of what this whole video is about. If I didn't have Swiss chard, or if I didn't have spinach, or if I didn't have kale, I would find something else to substitute, or I would just kind of change the recipe to meet my own needs, which is kind of what we all should do in our own kitchens in order to, you know, not be scared of cooking and make really good food that's good for us. I'm going to chop some of this parsley. I hope it's okay. I kind of have a couple stems in there, but we're just going to find out. I think it should be fine. I didn't take anything that was real woody off of those plants. This parsley smells amazing. So much different than the parsley that is dried, that comes in the little shaker that you buy at the grocery store as a seasoning. This, it smells really good. Okay, I think I might have overdone it on the parsley. Okay, so we're going to get those chickpeas out. There they are. They're still pretty warm. And I'm going to strain them, but the pot's not very hot. Right here. And I've never cooked chickpeas like this, so I'm kind of interested to see what they taste like. I'll try one in a minute. Very hot. Hot, 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 which is fine. And let's see if they're done. I'll try one of these. Oh yeah. I mean, we're just going to mush them up anyways. Those look super ready to go. All right, time to try a chickpea cooked in the Instapot. Wow, that is substantially better than a chickpea or a garbanzo bean that is eaten out of the can. Super good. This hummus is going to be awesome. I'm very excited. Okay, we need 1 pound of cooked chickpeas, which I think is about 2 cups. So I zeroed out my scale. We're going to see how much we need till we get to 1 pound. 10 ounces. Let's do a half a cup. Oop, another half. Okay, About 3 cups of cooked chickpeas or garbanzo beans is going to be per batch here. Okay, so let's put this in. We need 1/4 cup of parsley. I'm just going to use this little guy to measure. There's about 1/4 cup. We need 1 cup of leafy greens. It's about 1 cup. 1 cup of our onion tops. The whole reason we're doing this. About 1/4 cup of olive oil, which we're going to drizzle in again. We need 1/4 teaspoon of cumin. 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And just a little pinch of pepper. I'm just going to do like that. Okay, I think we have it all. Let's blend this up and put some olive oil in it. I'm going to scrape the sides down. It's looking good. I did add a splash of water in there to help it blend a little bit better. I think next time when I do this, I'm going to chop up the onion tops first because they're kind of chunky in here. Okay, let's taste it. It's pretty good. I like that onion in there. And the parsley. I can really taste that. Okay, I got a plan for the next time so that we should get rid of some of these chunks. See those? We don't want that. My particular machines are having a little bit of trouble, so I am doing all of my leafy greens in the blender, and then I'm combining everything with the chickpeas and everything in the food processor so I can get a nice consistency like this for our hummus. All right, so we have now made our onion top pesto and our onion top hummus. They both look really good, but we still have a ton of onion tops. So the next way that I like to preserve them is just to straight up freeze them. And I'm going to put them in Tupperware to freeze them. And the cool thing about freezing them is you don't really need to lay them out on a cookie sheet or anything. Like when you freeze berries and stuff, you kind of want to do that or they will all stick together. But these, they don't really stick together. Matter of fact, I have one that I can show you. So I just popped these out of the freezer. These were already frozen a while back, really. And look at them. They just flake right apart. So you can use these in all sorts of stuff. Bunch of cooking throughout the year. And they're just super handy. And we're just going to freeze some more. Now since I have made that onion top hummus and the onion top pesto, because last year I only did the pesto, I realized that the onion top hummus didn't really call for that many onion tops. So it wasn't the best way to preserve all of these, but it was something else, and we will definitely use it, and it does taste pretty good. So yeah, just kind of something to keep in mind. It doesn't use that many onion tops compared to the pesto. The pesto uses a ton of onion tops. And another something I want to make sure I do while I have these onion tops is just save some in the fridge. These are awesome on like hamburgers or just all sorts of cooking that we can use them fresh. So I'm going to save some also. So there are the 3 ways that I preserve the onion tops, but I have a bonus idea for you on how you can preserve onion tops. We are also going to dehydrate some onion tops and make like onion top powder, kind of like garlic powder, but onion powder. So I'm just going to put these all on here and get them dehydrated and make some sprinkles. So I hope you enjoyed this video about how to make sure you use everything from your garden, even the stuff that's kind of considered like a byproduct of what you're really trying to grow, because it's really cool to just be able to really use everything that you grow and kind of enjoy it all year long. I hope you found this video helpful, and I hope it helps someone else out there, and thanks so much for watching.